morning's wake-up call.
Yes, it is.
All right. Welcome to everyone in Sanctuary. Is anyone with us for the first time today? Okay. If you'll take a moment and turn off your cell phones. Or silent them. Okay, our one-minute reader today is Anne. And our musician is our beloved Joy. And our speaker is Melanie. Okay, Anne.
What?
How to find joy in everything we do. First, slow down. Before you do anything else, you need to stop being in such a rush and just slow down and enjoy. Most people are these days, and that only leads to a lot of stress. And nothing really gets done if you're always in a hurry. You never do your best, often forget stuff, and make mistakes because of the haste, and definitely have no chance to stop and enjoy life or to even live it. But it should be lived slowly, one moment at a time, so that we can experience it, understand it, and find pleasure in it. For a start, you can begin by driving more slowly, slowing down when you're walking, eating, even brushing your teeth, reading, or writing. But you'll have to be mindful and focused while doing it, and to constantly remind yourself of your goal to do the activity more slowly, because we're used to being in a hurry, that it's hard for us to just take it slowly. Meditation can help with that. If not, at least drink your coffee in the morning peacefully to find joy in the early hours. Secondly, focus on what you have. The more you think about the things you lack, the more you get of them. So try to become aware of every single thing you have, not just big opportunities everywhere or else, but each thing that's in front of you in which you can find joy. So if someone annoying wants to chat with you in the office, don't reject him. Instead, just listen and think about how cool it is that someone wants your attention. Another human being is spending some of his time, the most precious resource we all have, and the only one we can't get back with you. The least that you can do is just listen and just be there with your whole being. That's a random example, but shows you what attitude you should have in order to be full of gratitude. Wake up every day and thank God for being given another opportunity to enjoy your time on earth. After all, you haven't really deserved it. It's just given to you, and you can do whatever you want with it. It's a whole new 24 hours for you, in which you can change, learn and grow, do stuff you enjoy, or even indulge in unproductive activities that only give you instant gratification. How awesome is that? Third, be present. One of the biggest and most important realizations in my life was when I truly understood that the present moment is all we have. It's where life happens and where we can take action. The past is gone. It can't be changed. So I chose to learn from it. Leave the regrets behind and let it stay where it belongs, in the past. If you don't do that, you carry the burden of yesterday and bring it in today. Also, the future is unpredictable. That may scare us every now and then. It makes us imagine the worst possible things that could happen. But there's something else. It doesn't really matter right now. The only thing we can do is look forward to what lies in store and be prepared for it. But whatever happens, it will be the best possible outcome for this stage of our lives. The next day, things will be different, but we'll be okay with them too. That's how we find joy and contentment in the now and experience this day, by Lydia Kay.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, let's start with our first hymn, number 65. He healeth me. Both verses. Okay, number 65, He healeth me. Both verses. Stand as you are able.
Let's stand here a minute and look at you. Take it all in. I do consider you family, so it's so nice to see you all here today. James 1:22 says, "Be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only." Let that sink in for a minute. Well, just by being here today, you're a hearer of the word, right? And we often get together and hear the word. But are we doers? This is mentioned several times in the scriptures. By their fruits you shall know them. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm a people watcher. Are any of you people watchers? Oh, I am. I could sit at the mall and just watch people. I really could. Here's what I want you to know, though. There's a whole group of people out there, a circle of influence that you have, people that watch you. And they're watching you to see how you deal with life. How do you deal with struggle? Do you struggle well? That's one thing I'm trying to teach my children at school. Oh, we're going to struggle. And some people love the struggle. Right? If you're a mountain climber, you love the struggle. And as soon as you struggle up the mountain, the first thing you think about is, what's my next struggle? Right? What am I going to do next? So we're all going to struggle with something. But people are watching. They want to know, are you doers of your word? Have you ever known that person who spouted? Oh, I want to use a kinder word. Let me be kinder. That person who says constantly Bible verses, oh, what the good book says, but their actions just don't seem to match up. Because they're hearers and memorizers of the word, but not much of a doer. So think for a minute today, when is a time where you can be a better doer of the word? We've learned a lot here at our sanctuary, our church, our group of people here. We learn a lot from each other. And we don't always do the right thing, if there is such a thing as a right or wrong thing. But one thing we do is we hear the word. I know that for sure. So let's be good doers of the word. I want people to know me by my fruits. And I'm not perfect yet. But I hope someday I'll be perfect in God. And I know that you do too. But whosoever looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this one shall be blessed in all his deeds. Let us say our divine science statement of being. God is all, both invisible and visible, one presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am the individualized expression of God, and I'm ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance.
Good morning.
Good
morning. I just wanted to point out that it says the omnitones are playing today, but it's a really easy correction. If you black out the N, it becomes omnitoes. And that's what I do.
Okay.
So, just wanted to point that out. This is a new song I've been working on, and I heard it in a dream, the chord progression, and it's called Listen, and I liked what Anne said earlier about listening to that person that maybe you think is annoying, but you know, you want to be in that moment. But this is kind of, it starts off sad, because I was thinking about when we go through suffering and pain, and we don't want to face it, but we have to face it to get to the other side. So listening is listening to that struggle that you're going through. And then when you get to the other side, you come back to love, you come back to life.
Do you notice how we just had to sit for a moment before we could even think to clap? So nice. Do we have any prayer requests in the box today? Go ahead and start getting yourself in a nice, comfortable seating place so we can. I hold in my hands some requests for us. And indeed, there are many. We thank you, God, that our friends and our family, our co-workers, our neighbors, trust us and ask for our prayers. Let us hold each one up, knowing that there is only good health, knowing that there is only good emotional strength, knowing that there is only good. Strengthen us this day to see the good for them. And we thank you again that they trust us with their requests. We thank you, dear God. Now if you'll just open up all that you have, and for just a little while, let go of all that you perceive separates us. Feel our oneness. And for this short time this morning, let us know that we are right now, this very moment, the pure and perfect child of a living God. Know right this minute, in this very holy moment, that you are holy in every single part of your being. Take in a deep breath with me. And we'll breathe it out. Know that as you breathe in and out each day, you are filled with the Holy Spirit. Know that we are forever established in endless health, in endless harmony. As you breathe in, feel your balance and all that's good. Let us think today and be a living witness of the power of our oneness. As you breathe in, know that the glory of our God shines all around you. And that as you become a doer of the word, it will be revealed to those around us. The divine self that we have in mind, the divine thought that we carry, and the divine body we enjoy. Help us carry this word to those around us. With a deep breath in, let us sit for a few minutes. Let that which is in us, our deep, call to deep. Let us know the oneness. Let us feel the peace. Let us sit quietly in the harmony of our one. Come unto me with all that you carry, and I will be there. Come unto me and I'll give you rest. I'll give you rest from all your disbelief, from all the things that you think are true that are not. I'll give you rest from your worry. Come unto me and I'll give you rest from your busy, busy lives. Just come unto me. Amen. Let us pray our Lord's Prayer as we know it. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed is thy name. Thy kingdom is come. Thy will is done on earth as it is in heaven. Thou givest us this day our daily bread. Thou forgivest our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Thou leadest us not into temptation, but delivereth us from all thoughts of evil. For thine is the kingdom, and all the power, and all the glory, forever. Amen. Well, I'd like to say thank you to Anne. Your reading today was just about my sermon. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk to you today about time. It's all about time, right? I want you to imagine with me for a few moments that there's a bank, and it'll credit your account each morning with $86,400 each morning. However, it won't carry a balance over, and every evening it's going to delete whatever part of that balance you failed to use during the day. What would you do?
Spin.
Yes, you would draw out every single cent, right? Every single morning, and you would spend. Well, each of us actually has a similar bank, but the name of that bank is called time. And every morning, We're credited with 86,400 seconds. But every night it writes it off as lost, whatever is left, whatever we failed to invest to good purpose. And it carries over no balance. It allows us no overdrafts. Each day it's a new account for each of us, but if you fail to use the day's deposit, the loss is yours. There's no going back. There's no drawing against tomorrow. You must live in the present, on today's deposits. Interesting to think about. I heard a story about a man who worked at a factory. And one of his main jobs every day was to blow the factory whistle at 5 o'clock to let everybody know it's time to grab your lunchbox, head home, right? To indicate that the workday was over. So he walked to work each day and he passed a jewelry store where there was this really beautiful grandfather clock standing in the window. And every morning he would stop and he would check his clock, his watch. He would set it a minute or two, adjustment, to make sure that it matched the grandfather clock in the window. And one morning the store owner was out and he was sweeping the sidewalk, and the factory worker, he stopped and he said, How do you keep such accurate time? I set my watch by your clock every day. And the jeweler said, oh, it's easy. I adjust it and reset it every afternoon when the factory whistle blows. Aha! What is time? People live by the clock. I know in my work I live by the clock. We go to lunch at such strange times. It's never on the hour or on the half hour. No, our lunch time is 5:54. Okay. And the Spanish teacher comes at 9:11. Why can't she come at 9 o'clock? What's the big deal? But time is important to all of us. Here's what Benjamin Franklin said: do not squander your time, for it is the stuff life is made of. Many frustrated people seem to always fight the clock. It's a way of life. See if this pertains to you at all. They stay up as late as they can, just so they can sleep as late as they can the next day, and then rush frantically to work, eating breakfast on the way in the car, maybe even putting makeup on at the stoplight. I've seen people on their phone at the stoplight, right? But as I studied the life of Jesus all these years, I'm amazed that he never seemed to be in a hurry. Although he was doing some very important work, it seems to me that he knew he had only a few years to do it, but he never ran. Hardly ever do I read in the scriptures, in the Bible anyway, Jesus ran up the mountain as fast as he could. He hurried the people along. He said, eat, 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 eat. You've got to go. He was never in such a big hurry like that. That's what I do with the children, right? Stop talking. Eat, 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 eat. I read how he took time to consider the flowers and the birds of the air. I read how he had time, or he took the time, to put his hands on the little children and bless them. Time seemed to be more his friend, less like our enemy. Basically, we know that God exists in a realm that is not bound by time or space. God doesn't wear Rolex. He doesn't have a day planner. He's the creator of time, and he's greater than time. So the first step in making time is to totally immerse yourself in the life and God. In the Psalms, I think it's 90, We read, Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, wherever thou hast formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Psalms 90, verse 12, seems to teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. So I'm going to do something that I really don't like to do. I used to listen to a minister who was a good friend of mine, and every single Sunday, he's passed on now, when he would speak, he used one of those things where every letter of the word had something to do with what he was talking about, an acrostic. You know what that is? I'm doing an acrostic this morning in your honor, Tim Janini. Let's talk about time, T-I-M-E. And I want to talk about these words: treasure, invest, manage, and enjoy. So let's talk about the first one, T, treasuring our time. Well, God teaches us that every single day is precious and that we should treasure it and maybe even number it. To realize the value of 1 year, ask a student who's failed a grade. To realize the value of 1 month, ask a mother who gave birth to a premature child. That 1 month was valuable. Ask the businessman whose flight was delayed an hour and he missed an important business deal. The importance of an hour. How valuable is 1 minute? Ask the man who had the heart attack in the restaurant, but there was an EMT that happened to be sitting at the next table. And he was saved with his CPR. How valuable is a second? Ask a person who barely missed a head-on with an oncoming car. How valuable is a millisecond? Well, just ask the Olympic swimmer who missed qualifying by 0.6 of a second. Yes, time is really valuable. I don't want you to think about just throwing it away. But think about what this means for your family, and I mean also your family of God. Treasure every moment that you have, because yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today's a gift. Maybe that's why we call it the present, right? It's a gift. You've probably heard this: you can make more money, but you can't make more time. Have you ever heard this expression, time is money? If you're in the business world. Well, that's not true. I'm going to tell you that I believe time is much more valuable than money. It may be hard to make more money, but it's certainly impossible to make more time. A man named A.W. Tozer says this: time is a resource that is non-renewable and non-transferable. You cannot store it up, slow it up, hold it up, divide it up, or give it up. You can't hoard it or save it for a rainy day. When it's lost, it's unrecoverable. When you kill time, just remember, it has no resurrection. So understand that you should treasure time as the most valuable asset you're given. And now to the next letter, I, invest. Now we use a lot of phrases with time that aren't really possible. Here are a few. You can't buy more time. You can't really find more time. Have you said that a lot? Well, I'll try to find some time for that. We speak of making time, but that's impossible too. But you can invest time. In that way, it is like money. It can be spent and invested. It's different from money, though, because while money can be saved, time can't. And if you don't use it, you'll lose it. In the early 70s, there was a man, and I hope I say his name right. He's Italian. It's like Jim Crochet. He wrote a song that said, if I could save time in a bottle, you probably have heard that song.
Jim Croce. We know him well.
Well, I looked it up on the internet and he said it's not. Anyway, they pronounced it Italian crochet. But I'm fine with that. Let's southernize it right now. Jim Croce. In his song, he says, the first thing I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend them with you. Those are great lyrics. And it would be nice if we could save time, but we can't. In fact, it was a few months after he wrote that song that he was tragically killed in a plane crash in Louisiana at the age of 30. You can't save your time. Now we have all kinds of time-saving appliances. I have a microwave. What about you? Yeah, I tried to cook what should take an hour in like 10 minutes. Show me some of the time you've saved. Can you do that? Where is it? You can only spend it and invest it. And here's something interesting. Where you invest your time reveals something critically important about you. There are 168 golden hours in each week. The average person, believe it or not, will spend about 56 of those hours sleeping. 24 of those hours in eating and personal hygiene. I thank you for that. And about 50 of those hours working or traveling to work, to and from work. So that means we have about 35 hours a week of what we'll call discretionary time that's left over. If you average that out, it's about 5 hours a day. So ask yourself right now, what are you investing those hours in doing? That's going to reveal a lot about you. If I were to follow you around and observe you for those 5 hours for about 10 days, I could probably tell what is most important in your life. You might not like it, you might not agree with it, but some of you, maybe many of you, the most important thing in your life is surfing the net. You'll spend a lot of those 5 hours on the internet. For others of you, it might be watching TV. It might be reading your favorite trash magazine. But how much of that discretionary time are you devoting to God and what I like to call God work? How much are you devoting to family? One thing I'm trying to do right now that I would just love if everyone tried would be to sit down with your friends or your family for a meal or even to talk and absolutely put the cell phone away. Just put it away. Now, I'm no different from most people. If I leave home without my cell phone, I'll risk being late to work to go back and get it. I feel naked without it. Like I need it. And if I don't have it with me, I'll still find myself reaching for it in a back pocket. I bet you do too. Or the purse. And then I just go, oh, I don't have it with me today. I really feel unsettled and unbalanced. But I would love if we just put it away. Cell phone free zone. There's a study of 1,500 households at the University of Michigan, and they found that mothers that work outside the home spend an average of 11 minutes a day on weekdays and 30 minutes a day on weekends actually with their children. And this is not including the mealtime. And that fathers spend an average of 8 minutes a day on weekdays and 14 minutes a day on weekends in different activities with their children. Wow, that's staggering. Have you ever heard this excuse? Some dad or mom might say, well, I don't spend much time with my family, but the little time I do spend is quality time. I know you've heard that. Well, I don't really like that phrase because I think it's misused or used as an excuse. Quality time is really a misnomer because all time has the same quality. Consider this very second. Oh, was it higher quality than the second just before? What about this second right now? Is this better quality than the one before? It's like talking about quality money, right? So if I offered you a crumpled up $100 bill, would you say, oh no, that's too wrinkled. I'd rather have that quality $5 bill right there. The one that's crisp, no wrinkles. We might talk about meaningful family time, but there's really no substitute for investing a large quantity of time with your people. And I'm saying that because I don't just mean many of us are grown, our children are grown. You may not have children at home now, but think about the people in your life that are your family. They are important. And you'll indicate it to them by the amount of discretionary time you give them. Think about that deeply for a few minutes. Well, I learned long ago that you can have a family of choice. Would you raise your hand if you have a family of choice living nearby? Am I the only one? Yeah. There are people in my life right now, even sitting right here in these seats, that are my sisters, brothers, like an aunt or a mother. They're my family of choice because my biological mother can't be with me all the time. Well, let's move on to the M. Manage your time. So, let me remind you, in case you've forgotten, that all the money you get comes from God and we just manage it. It took me a long time to get to that place. That all my work is now God work, right? So my income comes from God. Well, the same can be true of your time. A time management expert was teaching a seminar for executives. And I had seen a version of this in real life myself. But he took a large open-mouthed jar in front of the group, and the next thing he put in were 8 very large rocks until it seemed the bowl was full. The jar was full. And he said to them, "Is this jar full?" Of course they said, "Oh, yes, yes." But he shook his head and he took pebbles and filled up the jar with the small pebbles until they reached the very rim. He said the jar was not full. But is the jar full now? And most people looked and they said, yes, it's full. It's pretty full. So then he just poured in fine sand and surprised everyone by how much he got into that bowl. At this time, he said, "Is the jar full?" Well, nobody dared say anything. They just kind of looked. I don't know. And he proceeded to take a pitcher of water, and he filled up the jar again. So he says to them, "What is the lesson about time management?" So hands were shooting up, and people were agreeing, no matter how busy you are, you can always fit more into your schedule. "No," he said, "wrong, wrong, wrong. The lesson is, unless you put the big things in first, they will never fit in." So think about that for a minute. What are your big things? Isn't it interesting how they all thought it's about, oh, you can always put more in, more in, more in? So what are the big rocks for you? What are they? Giving time to relationships, to children? More time to God? And if you don't put those big rocks in first, Someone else might just fill up your jar with other things. There's an entire field of study called time management. In almost every business in America, consultants are hired to teach their busy executives how to better manage their time. I get lessons at work on how to manage time. I'm told that if you're not at lunch at 11:54, you mess up everybody's time. Time management is a very hot topic. How many people, I'm sure, have heard of Stephen Covey, and he writes 7 Habits, Highly Effective People? Yes. Time management, he writes, is a misleading concept. You can't really manage time, he says. You can't delay it, speed it up, save it, or lose it. No matter what you do, time keeps moving forward at the same rate. The challenge is not to manage time, but to manage yourself. The Bible uses another word. Instead of managing your time, it speaks of redeeming the time. In Ephesians, Paul says, "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time because the days are passing." Circumspectly, that's an interesting word. It means to constantly be looking around to make the most of every opportunity. Now, I'm going to give some sports references. No, I did look those up because I do not know a lot of them by heart. Sorry. Emmitt Smith was a great football running back. Does anybody know of him, heard of him? But he's not the biggest or the fastest or the strongest. What he excelled at was running with his eyes wide open because he could always find right where to throw the ball. He was looking for every opportunity. Now, if you don't manage your time, think about this. Somebody else is going to manage it for you. You can't save time or even waste time. You're going to spend it somewhere and invest it in someone. So if you're not controlling your schedule, someone will always be happy to do that for you. Some people complain that they just don't have enough time to spend with their family, but you've got exactly the same amount of time as everyone else does. You're just managing it differently. Here's another song that I'll reference. How many people have heard, I think it's Harry Chapin, I'm sure somebody will correct me.
Chapin.
Chapin, thank you. The Cat's in the Cradle? Yes? Yes, you've heard that song? What's the main point of the song? Come on, class participation.
Son didn't feel his father's going to find him.
Yes. And you remember the final part?
He turned out like his father.
Yeah. He hung up the phone and he said, he's grown up just like me, right? Just not enough time. Gee, I'd like to see you, but I think he said, my new job's a hassle and the kids have the flu. But it's sure nice talking to you, Dad, right? We all know that.
No
Even-
FaceTime back then.
Yeah, even though I can't say his name correctly, I know the song and the words. But here's the rest of that story. It was really his wife, Sandy, who wrote the words to that song after her son, Josh, was born. When their son was 7, Harry was performing 200 concerts a year. And Sandy asked him when was he going to take some time to be with his son. And Harry promised to make some time at the end of the summer, but he never made it. Because that summer, a truck hit his Volkswagen Bug, and he was killed instantly. Let's talk about the last letter of time, which is E, for enjoy. Let's pep it up a little. The time you spend with family should be enjoyable, and it should be the best time of your life. We've got to learn to say no to family and friend time robbers. There will always be something else to do. There will always be somewhere else you can be. But if you're going to make spending time with people a priority, then you're going to have to learn the power of the two-letter word no. And I'll be the first to admit I have a hard time with that. You need to understand that when you say yes to your people time, then you've already said no to everything else. I have really taken this to heart. I know I've said it from right here before. It was Deepak Chopra who said it while talking to Oprah. He said she asked him, what's the most important people in your life? He said, you are. And she looked strangely at him and said, I am. And he said, because you're right in front of me. And when you are right in front of me, or whoever is right in front of me, they are the most important person to me at that time. And I give them the whole of me. I listen to them, I talk to them, I hear them. So if you are here with me, Oprah, you are the dearest, most important person to me right now. I've really taken that to heart, and I try to do that. It's hard to do with 20 kids, but I do it. Right? I make them the most important kid at that time, whoever I'm talking to. Many of us, though, allow interruptions, cell phones, and other demands. Nobody on their deathbed, though, is never going to say, I wish I'd spent more time on my cell phone. Several years ago, there was a professional baseball player named Ken Griffey Jr. He was invited to play to the Players' Choice Awards, where he was to be awarded Player of the Decade Award. That's a huge deal. It was going to be televised, and he had beat out several other well-known, really good players. But when he found out when the award was going to be given, he declined to attend. And people were shocked. But he said, my 5-year-old son, Trey, will be playing his very first baseball game that night. And I'm not going to miss it. Good for him. So sometimes we need to say no to some of those things that will take away from our people time. Yes, and we want to make and enjoy happy memories, right? My friends will only be with me for a while. Now, no one is really going to understand that as much as someone who lives long enough to know that my spouse and my friends are passing away. They're passing on, right? I don't think of that very much at my age, but some people do. In James 4:14 it's written, whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. Well, since I've become older than 40, my friends and I were just talking the other day about how a day goes by in a flash, and then a week is gone, and before you know it, the month is gone. And the years have passed so quickly. Take just a second, turn to the person next to you and say, my friend, you are but a vapor. Let's make some time and memories. Happy memories. Happy memories of time. Time to treasure. All right, my darlings. Time is God's precious gift, and I thank you for taking time for this message this morning. I pray that God uses it now to change our lives for all time. Amen.
Amen.
I think it's time for you.
See ya.
Hold on, I gotta change this. called Spirit, and enjoy it. This is the time to enjoy.
I didn't know that there was is there a dial there? I wasn't.
I'm gone. I meant to do that. I'm gonna hear it and I'm not gonna fear it, and no one can break my spirit. I'm gonna hear it and I'm not gonna fear it, and no one can break my spirit. I'm gonna jump and maybe I'll fall, but I'm laughing through it all. And I might drown the further I wade, but I'll never be afraid. I'm gonna hear it and I'm not gonna fear it, and no one can break my spirit. I'm gonna hear it and I'm not gonna fear it, and no one can break my spirit. I'm gonna jump and maybe I'll fall, but I'm laughing through it all. I might drown the further I wade, but I'll never be afraid. I'm gonna hear it and I'm not gonna fear it, and no one can break my spirit. I'm gonna hear it and I'm not gonna fear it, and no one can break my spirit. I'm gonna jump and maybe I'll fall, but I'm laughing through it all. I might drown the further I wade, but I'll never be afraid. I'm gonna hear it and I'm not gonna fear it, and no one can break my spirit. I'm gonna hear it and I'm not gonna fear it, and no one can break my spirit. I'm gonna jump and maybe I'll fall, but I'm laughing through it all. I might drown the further I wade, but I'll never be afraid. No one can break my spirit. Oh no, no one can break my spirit. Oh no, no one can break my spirit. Oh no, no one can break my spirit. Oh no one can break my spirit. Oh no, 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 no one can break my spirit
make us buzz. Such exquisite talent. Okay, now it's time for blessing of the gifts. And we can read in our bulletin. Order of service. Order of service.
I got it. Remember?
Okay, together. Today, I acknowledge God, omnipresent, as the source of all good, as the source of my good. With this acknowledgement, I accept His will, which is abundance in every aspect of my life. I release all thoughts of lack and limitation, and I am open and receptive to the increased flow of abundance to me right now. I joyfully accept the gifts of life and give freely of the special gift that I am. Through me, God omnipresent blesses and multiplies this gift for all. Thank you, dear God.
Give me one of those. Yeah, like that. And
I'm going to pass around the prayer basket if you'll take out a little sheet of paper and pray for that person.
everything takers for this. Excellent. Thank you.
Wait, let me do this.
Ready? That's fine.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Short announcements again today, I know that makes y'all happy. First off, the flowers for today are sponsored by Amy Jo for both her parents' birthdays. Thank you, Amy Jo, for stepping up and being the pulpit assistant today was my mistake. I appreciate you doing that. So anyhow, March the 17th, which is I think is the third Sunday of March, we will be having a baked potato luncheon like we had one a couple years ago, and it cost us $5. And I'm going to put the sign-up sheet in the annex, and you all can sign up instead of passing it around. And we'll be announcing that again. Also, March the 10th, we'll be announcing this next week, but on March the 10th, daylight savings time starts. Yay! So anyhow, that'll be coming up. You doing your healing circle Thursday night, 6:30. Okay, Nancy will be doing her healing circle 6:30 this Thursday night. Also, we're going to be updating the directories. We try to do that at least 2 or 3 times a year. So if your phone number or your address has changed, please let myself or Nancy know so we can get that updated and get some new ones printed out. Also, most of you know we've started a walking groups on Saturday mornings at 9:30. So we started Black Dog Salvage. We do it every Saturday morning. If it's raining, bad weather, we go to Tanglewood Mall. So either way, we're walking. So come rain or snow or whatever. So anyhow, feel free to come. Everybody walks at their own pace. You can bring a partner. Somebody walks the same way you do or whatever. But it's we're trying to get people out, and it's also a good way to get to know people that you don't usually talk to on Sunday mornings. You know, a lot of times we just say hi and bye, and that's about it. So anyhow, and it gets people out and gets them moving. So that was our goal to do that. So it's every Saturday morning. If by some chance we ever do cancel it, I always send out a message. But you know, yesterday we walked to Tanglewood, and so it was good. And so anyhow, just everybody, I want to keep after everybody else that hasn't joined us yet. So I'm looking over this way. Anyhow, feel free to join us and every Saturday morning. So, Marie, did you have anything you want to say?
We'll be meeting on Wednesday.
We'll be meeting on Wednesday. Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you, Jan. And Rick, thank you so much for sharing your energy and your special gift with us. Okay, our closing hymn, number 40, It's in Every One of Us. We'll sing both verses. Number 40, It's in Every One of Us. Stand as you are able.
this week as we travel on, we have lots to do, right? We're busy people. I pray this week that you will take a good check on where you spend your time, and that possibly you will spend it in a different way. May the Christ consciousness rise up in you. May you see those around you and love them as your circle of influence, as your family of choice. Amen.
Amen.